Cheese and water.
I know you're away. Soon we'll have you.
Okay, welcome everybody. Sort of get started. My name is Siddiqui. I'm the director of the O'Connell Initiative on the Global History of Capitalism, and this is our first lecture of the year. So before I introduce our guests, we're very excited to have, I just want to say a few words about the series we have planned for this year, just very quickly. Of course, being a Westerner today, I'll say a bit more about that. On November 4th, we have Bathsheba Dimuk from Brown University, who's going to talk about a sort of environmental history of the Bering Sea, about in the Arctic Circle, which is a sort of a fascinating topic about the way in which both capitalism and socialism wreaks havoc among indigenous people and the natural world, the natural order of the Arctic world. On December 2nd, we have Sheila Fitzpatrick from the University of Sydney, who's probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, historian of modern Russia in the world. And she's going to be talking about migration after World War II in Eastern and Central Europe, which is a massive project she's not engaged in. February 27th, we have Victoria Smallkin from Wesleyan University, who will be talking about a recent book about atheism in socialist societies, particularly in the Soviet Union. On March 26th, we have Nick Estes from the University of New Mexico, who's going to be talking about indigenous resistance and the history of indigenous resistance, using the Dakota Access Pipeline as a sort of grounding anchor and go back into the history. On April 6th, we have Paul Ramirez from Northwestern University, who is a historian of medicine who writes about Mexico and disease prevention in Mexico in rural areas, but I think his new project is on the production and consumption of salt in Mexico. And finally, we have on April 20th, Robin D.G. Kelly from the University of California, Los Angeles, who will be talking about Walter Rodney, who was a great anti-colonial activist and Pan-Africanist during the Cold War, from Guyana, who wrote most famously the book on how Europe basically impoverished Africa. I forget the exact time, it was in the early 70s. And he was later, Paul Rodney was later assassinated in 1980. So we're going to talk about Paul Rodney, but his connections to sort of a global anti-capitalist order during the Cold War. So, with that said, I want to introduce our guest here today, Dr. Wes Alcenat. Is a historian of the 19th century U.S. and the Caribbean. His scholarship covers the shared histories of African Americans and peoples of the African diaspora in the Atlantic world. His manuscript in revision, Children of Africa Shall Be Haitians, Prince Saunders' Revolutionary Transnationalism and the Foundations of Black Immigration, 1815 to 1865, is a study of the radicalism and ideologies of African American settlers who emigrated to Haiti in the 19th century. Wes's academic interests have intersected with public history and equity in higher education to highlight histories of marginalized groups inside the university and provide critical policy recommendations. Since 2015, he has served as an academic director in the Great Books Summer Reading Program at Amherst College. He's a past recipient of many, many fellowships. I'll just mention a few of them. The Richard Hofstadter Fellowship of Columbia University, Fellowship from the Library Company in Philadelphia, the Massachusetts Historical Society, the Hoover Institute's Library and Archives, the Woodrow Wilson Foundation, the Social Science Research Council, etc., etc. In 2015-2016, he was a visiting scholar at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and an associate fellow at the Weatherhead Initiative on Global History at Harvard University. He's written widely and published widely, including for the Jacques Laurent magazine, TheRoof.com, The Eminent Frame, Truth.com. He's also contributing guest editor for Black Perspectives blog, the publication branch for the African American Intellectual History series. And Wes, as many of you know, was trained by historian Eric Foner at Columbia University. That said, I'll just, Wes's talk today is Prince Saunders and African American immigrants. Okay. Let's welcome him.
Good evening, everyone. All right, so bear with me for a moment. I will not be using too many slides. If I have them for a slide, I might pull it up, but I might not at the same time. So the title of my talk today is "We Are Not What We Seem," which is taken from a quote by Richard Wright in his book, 100 Million Black Voices, A Million Black Voices. And the idea here is to sort of, thank you, Monica. The idea is to sort of communicate what I believe is the time that we're living in, which given that we're coming out of the era of the post-racialism, the Obama presidency, and so we are not what we seem, to me, is to sort of indicate that far from progress that we think we've made, we have a long, long way to go. So let me just start real quick with the acknowledgments, and I know I have a few minutes. And I'm very much looking forward to really being in conversation with you. That's the most exciting part for me. So, good evening. Thank you to Dr. Siddiqui, who's the director of the Economy Initiative in Global History. Thank you to all my colleagues here who showed up, especially to having my senior colleagues show up for me. And thank you to Audra, our administrative, our executive administrator for the department. And thanks to all of you for showing up. I'm grateful that you're here to be in conversation with me. And in the tradition of my hero Malcolm X, let me say welcome to brothers and sisters, comrades, travelers, fellow travelers, friends, and enemies. I'm not a Marxist, but I very much identify with a lot of Marxist analysis of economics, so I'm not afraid of talking about travelers and fellow travelers. But to put Malcolm more directly, I think we'd be fooling ourselves if we have an audience and didn't think or realize that there were enemies among us. So if you're my enemy, you're welcome too. So let me just begin by providing a necessary warning. Take it as a trigger warning of sort. So if it's not already obvious, typically I am Black. I'm a person of African descent. I am Haitian born, which makes me the direct descendant of the enslaved people brought to North America and the Caribbean, the people whose trials and tribulations we will discuss later in the global context of Atlantic capitalism. Secondly, I say this because, as all Black scholars know, accusations of alleged biases always surface when one talks about racism and political economy in the same breath. A long tradition continues to hold in this country that only white scholars are the inheritors of enlightened and objective truths. Lastly, neither my Africanness nor the fact that I am a Black American disqualifies the credibility of the truths of my arguments. These truths are, I believe, rooted in historical facts that I will lay bare throughout this lecture. At the end of the day, I know what I know by way of historical inquiry and sound scholarship. I'm entitled to my own historical interpretations, but unlike many academic peers who often speak on the subject of Haiti, I am not entitled to my own facts. So on that, let's start, for instance, with our president. So most people in this room remember, I'm sure, when President Trump made a statement in 2018 that Haiti is, and I quote, a shithole country where everyone has AIDS and HIV. And since the massive 2010 earthquake that happened a few years ago, some of the undergrads here may or may not have known about this. that nearly destroyed the country and killed over 200,000 people, Haiti has been front and center in American media, and as well as in conversation about poverty, global development, the legacies of racism, capitalism, and its discontents in the Caribbean, or the so-called third world. This rare attention from the American media, of course, only comes in moments of crisis, like when Hurricane Matthew in 2016 killed 1,000 people and left 500,000 men, women, and children homeless. So in light of its many, many disasters and crises, if you ask most Americans, like the New York Times columnist David Brooks, about Haiti's problem, he will tell you that Haiti suffers from a complex web of progress-resistant cultural influences. Like Brooks is typical to provide a culturally backward and ethno-racist perspective on what is otherwise a historical problem. Before I dive a little deeper into the transnational histories of the United States and Haiti's shared complex past, present, and future, I want you to think about three simple but very important questions. The first is to think about William Shakespeare's question, what's in a name? And when we use a metaphor in our discourse and in how we talk about Haiti, what is a metaphor for? The second is a famous question asked by one of the foremost scholars on post-colonialism, Beatrice Pepe. She asked, can the subaltern speak? In other words, why is it that Haitians rarely get to define their own narratives? Why has the United States and the U.S. media spoken for Haiti more than Haitians themselves? I'm asking you to consider these questions because whenever Haiti is mentioned, the media is often quick to remind you, and as far as I'm concerned, since I'm Haitian, that's also my last name. The media is quick to remind you that Haiti is the only nation with a last name, the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Always the thing that follows after Haiti is mentioned. And since we're living in the age of surveillance capitalism, I'd like to do something, a demonstrative act of sort. Take out your phone for a moment and go to your Google search engine. And I want you to just type, why is Haiti, ... That's all you have to do. Why is Haiti, ... in your search. Raise your hand once you've got it. Okay, so.
I didn't even have to type Haiti.
You-
Y-H-A. Why is H-A? And then came up.
And it came out, exactly. So the Google engine likely generated some 360 million searches, right, in less than 5 seconds. The most common of those search results will finish the question for you in the following ways. Why is Haiti so poor? Why is Haiti cursed? Why is there so much poverty in Haiti? Why is Haiti so depressing? Why is Haiti so considerably poorer than its light-skinned neighbor, the Dominican Republic? Sometimes how a question is phrased says more about the person who is posing that question than it says about the subject or the object of inquiry. Consider, for instance, Professor Jared Diamond, who in his 2005 book, Collapse, How Societies Choose to Fail or Succeed, in which he argues that Haitians have just refused to reward good work. And just like Brooks made the argument that Haitians suffer from progress-resistant genes, except he says it in more liberal-friendly language. But like the writer Anand Girdedas once observed, people like reading men like Diamond. If you ever get on the plane, you see people reading Diamond. Right? For some reason, people flying at 300,000 feet likes to read people who have a perspective from 300,000 feet, right? So, but for me, what it shows is that people like the Trumps, the Brooks, the Diamonds, and Haiti's many detractors and pseudos, one-size-fits-all theories, can be seen as living proof of what the Jamaican-born British cultural theorist Stuart Hall once observed, that race is the modality in which class is lived. Right? They all think they're giving you an objective analysis when in fact the racist presumptions about Haiti already existed, and they're just filling in the blanks. The truth is, the tone of the question, why is Haiti so poor, suggests that there is something sadly exceptional about the world's first Black republic. Hence the reason why I titled my talk, The Wealth of American Capitalism and the Exceptionalism of Haitian Poverty. Right? It says, the question says that Haiti is uniquely tragic and grotesque, unimaginably catastrophic, a place beyond comprehension, desperate, backward, uncivilized, handicapped, hopelessly miserable. After a while, these terms and concepts are no longer descriptive or rigorously analytical in their historical theories. They are not asking about a country or a people, they're asking about aliens and animals. And no serious intellectual who is not also a learned idiot or a charlatan from my perspective would pose these questions like the Jared Diamond would. But when it comes to Haiti, learned idiots are abound when it comes to explaining its misery. The research question that starts with why is Haiti so poor is most often informed by the fact that there already exists a presumed answer. Because even when we do not want to admit it, most Americans who ask these questions either agree with President Trump or are subconsciously entertaining the same racist ideas about Haiti and Haitians. To reduce Haiti to these pathologies and ask why is Haiti so poor is truly not that far from asking why is it a quote-unquote shithole country. To put it simply, these questions are primarily racist. That is why for someone like David Brooks, the answer to Haitian problems is the need for what he calls, quote, intrusive paternalism from the West. And I say the West here because some of the same learned idiots talk about Haiti as if it is not of the West and in the West. I cannot answer all these questions, of course, about why is Haiti so poor, why Haiti this or that, and frankly, I'm not that interested. What I am more interested in is reversing one of the questions. Instead of asking why is Haiti so poor, perhaps we should be asking why are friends in the United States so wealthy? And that's the question that I'm more intrigued by and interested in. What if we stop the pathologizing and give Haiti a serious look? What if we take a step back and contextualize the history of how, when, and why Haiti got to the place it is today? What can we say about the last 100 years or the last 400 years since it's 2019, 1619 to 2019? If we were to historically be honest about Haiti, the fact is we cannot even begin to speak about Haitian history without first talking about how that tiny island of country of 11 million people has, for better or worse, been at the center of global history in the past 500 years. It was on the island of Hispaniola, where Haiti and the Dominican Republic today share the borders. It was there that Columbus established the first permanent settlement in the New World. It was there that he encountered indigenous people and committed the first genocidal acts that would lead to 90% of the extermination throughout the entire Western Hemisphere. And it was also there that the first Africans brought there in chains under recommendations of the Catholic Church, also rebelled and defeated the three most powerful European armies at the time, the French, the British, and the Spaniards. So you can't talk about Haitian history without also talking about friends in the United States in the same breath. The tragedy of Haiti is that much of its history is a man-made catastrophe that can be explained by French colonialism, the political and economic exploitation of Haitians by the Haitian elite, and for the last 100 years of complete domination of Haitian life and politics by American racial capitalism, general foreign policies, and imperialism. Under the Haitian elite, post-independent Haiti became the first living example of what the famous scholar Franz Fanon called black rulers masquerading in white masks. The Haitian physician and ethnographer Jean-Pierre Mars considered the intellectual godfather, who was once considered the intellectual godfather of the negative movement, accused the Haitian elite of practicing collective cloverism, a form of mass escapist daydreaming at the expense of the largely traditional African heritage population, meaning they were identified with the French elite, they were identified with Africa. Historically, the country's political and moneyed elites have preferred an export-oriented economy over the internal development of the people's economic and political autonomy. But for today, I don't want to talk about the Haitian elite, because often that is passed off as the reason why Haiti has so many issues. I want us to focus instead on the historical role of France in American imperialism in Haiti, and the devastating legacy it left behind. A legacy that has some people now calling for reparations. I will end my lecture also by saying a few words as to how the two reparations movements from the United States side and the Haitian side are connected. And then final analysis, friends in the United States, which used capital from enslaved and peasant Haitians to enrich former planters and their offspring, bears half the responsibility for Haiti's human catastrophe. Today, it is generally accepted that the transatlantic slave trade was a crime against humanity. but nowhere was the brutality of slavery more on display than in Haiti itself under French colonialism. French financial investment in the colonial exploitation of black slaves resulted in a simple, cruel logic. It was cheaper to work a slave to death within a period of 3 to 5 years and then import another boatload of men and women to provide them with bare subsistence, rather than providing them with bare subsistence. Because of this, Saint-Domingue, as colonial Haiti was known, became the wealthiest European colony in the New World, the wealthiest colony the world has ever witnessed. It produced much of the cotton, tobacco, indigo, and sugar that enriched the pockets of France's wealthiest aristocrats and planters. Before independence in 1804, Haiti provided 40% of all sugar traded in the Atlantic markets. To put this in perspective, in the French port city of Nantes, refining raw sugar imported from Haiti helped the city become a center of European consumer goods. Nantes became a central exporting market for Haitian sugar to Holland, Germany, Spain, Sweden, Italy, and Denmark. Local businessmen could enrich themselves further by reinvesting the profits in shipbuilding and in processing cotton to make cloth, cotton that was also produced and imported from Haiti. Meanwhile, slaves born in Haiti could only hope to work for about 15 years before dying. The average enslaved woman in the Caribbean performed enough labor to remain sick or disabled for almost 60% of her life. Starting in 1791 and lasting until 1804, of course, the enslaved Africans took matters into their own hands and rose up and fought a brutal war against their French masters. After it was all said